Hello, everyone. My name is Jordyn Smith, and I am the voice and the astrologer for this YouTube channel, Nonconformist Conscience. I wanted to do a deeper conversation about this upcoming um, Mars-Venus opposition. Venus in Aquarius, Mars in Leo, and I want us to remember that the rulers of the nodal axis are now opposing each other. So there's a lot of information to be gleaned by this opposition from this astrological conversation happening and the astrological conversations taking place um, during the opposition. So before I get into that, again, we have the Sagittarius birthday special. If you want to know about that, you can go on my website. And then we also have the um, Christmas special going on, which is a $145 discount for 3 readings. You can get 3 readings with me for only $155 that you can use over the next 18 months once you book those or you sign up for that package. It is my Christmas gift to you, and you have until December 24th to sign up for that. The other thing I want to say is I do still have my Asteroid Goddess series going on. The next class is happening on December 21st. I'm going to be going over Sophrosyne and Pallas Athena. And both of those asteroids connect to different planets, whereas Sophrosyne connects to Neptune and Venus, Pallas Athene connects to Uranus and Mercury. So if you are wanting to attend that, it's $35 and you can email me and I will send you an invoice for that class. Last class I did was over Lilith and Ceres, and I will be putting that recording on my website in the near future for those of you to purchase that class if you want to, the recording of it. So without further ado, let's have a deeper conversation about this Venus opposite Mars. I want to preface this before I show this chart that one, when we have any type of Aquarian, Uranian, 11th house energy going on, whether it be through a transit or in a natal chart, this can be where we have a jackhammer moment, is what I like to call it. Aquarius can come in like a lightning bolt and absolutely shake things up. And it can shake things up where all of a sudden something that once was there is gone, or something that we are wanting to have come into our lives all of a sudden is there. It can also be where it's a sign that speaks to it's an air sign. So it's speaking to the mental faculties of all of a sudden understanding something that we didn't understand before, or having an awareness about it. And sometimes that is coming through an external dynamic that now is confronting us with an internal dynamic. And so I want to keep this in mind. And I also want to keep in mind that, again, like I said, we have the ruler of the South Node opposing the ruler of the North Node. And Mars is retrograde during this time. So what is this meaning? Well, a retrograde planet is definitely wanting us to relive or re-experience some key dynamic in order to resolve it. It's the way the universe helps us to individuate, to throw something off or to liberate from it through resolving that dynamic. And so retrogrades are always this relive, repeat in order to resolve dynamic. And Mars is definitely about our desires or just Martian dynamics of needing to act on our instinct or cultivating new patterns through desires that are now emanating into our consciousness. They're being seeded into our consciousness in order for us to actualize them. Mars is like a self-cleaning oven for Pluto, whereas Pluto is the things that we're confronting on a soul level, that where we get into trouble with Pluto is when we resist. It's also, Pluto is the subconscious desires of the soul. So if you look at your chart and you find your Pluto in your chart, you're knowing what you've carried in from a prior lifetime as a bottom line. Pluto is the bottom line. It is the proverbial the why. It is answering that question, why? Why this? Why that? Why do these things happen? Why am I the way that I am? That is Pluto. Because Pluto is also dealing with emotional and psychological content on a soul level. Whereas Mars are the desires that are seeded into the consciousness in order for one to actualize them. From the subconscious Pluto, we have conscious desires that start to emanate, and that is Mars. And what that does is it's asking for action, but discernment and action. What way do I go about doing this or acting on this desire? Is this a desire that I actually need to act on, or is this something that has exhausted itself already? So Mars and Leo is definitely about conscious desires emanating into the conscious from the subconscious that are dealing with the activation of needing to follow one's instinct in order to self-actualize something. The best way to look at this in your natal chart is to see, where does Mars fall in your own natal chart by house? And also, the ruler of that Mars and Leo would be your natal sun. So for me, Mars and Leo is falling into my fourth and third houses, and it is being activated by my sun in the ninth house in Capricorn. So it gives you more of a complete story of what are these desires that are starting to manifest on a conscious level, and also the hero's journey of the sun. What is this speaking to on a very personal level? Like for me, the sun in Capricorn and the ninth house is very much about me having my own personal authority, asking and answering my questions, being my own mother and father, being my own role model through what? The ninth house, the sun in the ninth, through being authentic, through being honest, through showing up and teaching, all of these different ways. So Mars and Leo has been activating these fourth house emotional dynamics, and Mars and Leo in the third has also been activating the ways in which I need to self-actualize through expressing myself and expressing my own authority without being controlling, Capricorn. So you can see how this will definitely light up things in your chart. And it's a self-cleaning oven in tandem with Pluto, because as we evolve, we're eliminating desires until there is only one desire. And that one desire is to merge back with that which we come from, to source. Okay. So keeping that in mind, tracking this in your own natal chart. Whereas Venus in Aquarius is really about this individuating function of Venus dealing with our inner relationship to self and what we attract, and the need to liberate Aquarius from where we've over-identified with possibly the values of others or taken on the values and the voices of others. And we're not really living our unique individuality, or we're needing to facilitate in this process of liberating from dynamics in order to continue to individuate, in order to understand that inner community with self, and also creating an attraction to the things that are actually serving a higher purpose in our life. So the ability to manifest things that are really in alignment with understanding what we value and what we need. It's this influx of energy to truly slough off the past of where we've over-identified with conditioning, whether that be values, meaning, beliefs, anything that's impeding upon us from knowing our unique individuality. So this is really interesting whenever you take this into context. The ruler of this Venus through transit is Uranus in Taurus. So again, it's perpetuating this individuation, dealing with a Uranian function of transformation of the inner relationship to self, Taurus, what it takes for you to survive. In order to survive, in order to be self-sufficient, to be self-reliant, one must know their unique individuality and have access to it. That means there needs to be a liberation from the known and the over-identification of content that really isn't resonating with each one of us personally on a soul level. So there's that. And so now I want to show you this chart, and let's go over this a bit. Again, if you know me and my channel, you know that this is a Greenwich chart. So we've got Venus in Aquarius in this first house, Mars retrograde in Leo in the 7th house. Mars is ruled by the Sun in the 10th in Sag. And Venus is ruled by Uranus retrograde in the 3rd in the sign of Taurus. So Uranus is also, these two are in mutual reception of each other, meaning that they both are being facilitated by the other. Uranus is ruled by Venus and Venus is ruled by this Uranus. And that is actually a really good thing because it creates more of a symbiosis of this natural cycle that's going on astrologically right now. It's actually helping us. There's not as much friction. There's more of an ease of access to these energies because they're in mutual reception. The other thing that I want to point out here is that the South Node, which is ruled by Venus, is in this 8th house. It's in Libra. And the North Node, which is ruled by that Mars in the 7th, is in the 2nd house. And it's in Aries. Chiron is also here, retrograde in Aries in the 2nd, both ruled by this Mars. So we've got energy that is ruled by this Mars and this Venus, and then we have the rulers pulled in to this. The last thing I want to speak to is Mars is trine to Mercury retrograde in this 10th house. So you all have this chart here. I want you to keep this in your mind while I talk about this. Excuse me. So when we are dealing with Venus and Aquarius, and it is the ruler of the South Node, Libra, in the 8th house. It is also trine to that South Node, which helps. But this can really correlate to something is at an evolutionary standstill. This type of trine, the relationship that it's in, is speaking to there can be something at an evolutionary standstill, but there is also when we confront it and objectify it, all right, Aquarius, objectification, observing it, there can be an ease of integration on an intellectual Aquarius level that really helps us connect dots. I like to think of Aquarius as a dot connector. So we've got a lot of energy speaking to prior dynamics that have already occurred. The South Node is pulling in that Venus. It's trine. Venus is also its ruler. Uranus retrograde. It's a retrograde. It is ruled by that Venus. And then we've also got the ruler of the North Node, Mars, retrograde trining another retrograde planet, which is Mercury in Sagittarius. So let's break this down. The way that I see this is throughout this week, and this is leading up to the full moon in Gemini, which again, I'm going to make a separate video for this. But this South Node in Libra has been speaking to these dynamics of the past, dealing with relationships and how we have been confronting the past way of doing relationships, where there have been imbalances or disharmony or the dynamic of acquiescing or lessons in needing to hear or understanding all of a sudden we're in partnerships with people who have an inability to hear where we're coming from. This South Node falling in the 8th house of this chart gives it a Plutonian Scorpionic vibe. There can be something this week that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we are being confronted, 8th house, South Node in the 8th house, of where we're having emotional and psychological habituations perpetuated in our relationships. All right. And it's the need for us to confront this through an external dynamic that is being triggered in order for an internal transformation, Venus ruling that in the sign of Aquarius, to occur. And it's going to be changing the way that we think through us having a different type of awareness about this dynamic. And with Venus opposing Mars, the North Node's ruler, and Mars being retrograde in Leo, is all of a sudden we can understand or come into an awareness about some type of relational dynamic that maybe we weren't aware of before. Maybe all of a sudden we're finding something out about someone that we're in a relationship with, or all of a sudden we're being confronted with some type of dynamic inside of ourselves through that we're needing to liberate from. And North Node in Aries in the 2nd house, ruled by that Mars in Leo, which is also in the 7th. So it's this extreme that's being highlighted, and we're being confronted with a prior dynamic, something that's been going on for a very long time that maybe we weren't made aware of. It's wanting to expose it in order to purge it. Virgo is on that 8th house cusp, and it's dealing with the extremes. And with that North Node falling in the 2nd house, it has a way of us acting on our desires to purge the past in order to fortify our inner relationship to self. And with Uranus retrograde in the 3rd house, it's helping us to truly liberate from the ways in which we've learned to do relationship with others and the things that are impeding upon us having inner security, healthy self-esteem. And so this is a week where we could be having growing pains. This is on the heel of a full moon in Gemini, which is it has a dual nature to it. Gemini does. It's going to give us an opportunity to make a choice. The duality of Gemini is choice making. And so whatever comes up during this week, especially during this Venus-Mars opposition, whatever is exposed, whatever is confronted on an external and internal level, it's for us to liberate and to be in alignment with our own self-love and our self-dignity and our self-respect. That is Mars and Leo. So if you have been going through stuff where you wish that you had handled something differently, that really wasn't in self-love. Maybe I acquiesced or I submitted. We're dealing with some Virgo energy, considering Virgo's on that 8th house cusp. Maybe you submitted to something that you, in hindsight, would not submit to. You might have an opportunity to resolve this through reliving a key dynamic dealing with these kind of core bottom line dynamics. And with Mars trying to Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, falling in that 10th house, this is about the need to self-reflect on the why and to align yourself with your authenticity and to follow your intuition and your gut about what this is. The 10th house, Capricorn, Saturn energy is really speaking to being one's own authority, meaning I can ask and answer my own questions. I don't need to do distorted Libra and wish someone would tell me what to do. This is where you're really going to have to ground. Moon is in Taurus, Uranus is in Taurus. Ground into your inner relationship to self. Listen to yourself, Taurus, and to self-reflect. Mercury in the 10th house, Sun in the 10th house, ruling that Mars. Lean into your authenticity and the truth. What feels true for you? And then make a correct judgment call. Make a discernment around what is the way that I need to move forward so I can liberate from these past dynamics. This truly is a week, especially during this day, December 12th, where one could all of a sudden, in an instant, come to an understanding about something or someone that they were not privy to. Something is wanting to be exposed in order for one to be able to liberate from prior dynamics. And so it can start connecting dots for you as to how did I end up in this situation? How did I end up where I'm at right now? And the 10th house, which the Sun and Mercury are both falling in, is wanting us to take our own responsibility for the choices that have led up to this. Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius could be where one is denying what is going on and making excuses around the truth of what is occurring. And so there's this need to not do that. It's to confront the reality, 10th house, of whatever situation is coming to the forefront, whatever is being exposed, either about yourself, about others, about how you feel about yourself, the Taurus energy, and the choices that you make within relationships to others. And this truly can bring so much wisdom. Chiron and Aries retrograde falling in that second house is really where we can change our awareness about past wounds that perpetuate current circumstances that we're really trying to purge and get rid of. And what it can do with Mars retrograde and Leo ruling that is it can be an act of self-love to inwardly nurture oneself by making a different choice, by choosing to create a new pattern that is rooted in self-love. Who you are on a unique, individual, authentic level. There's trines happening in this chart from Mars to Mercury, from Uranus, to Pluto and to Ceres on some levels. Something is wanting to wrap up where we've over-identified with some type of dynamic that we're truly needing to liberate from in order for an inner transformation to occur. So this also speaks to we're getting to learn more about ourselves and the why. Why do I do this? Why did I choose this? How did I end up here? Now there's a necessary confrontation or something is being exposed for me to learn more about myself on an emotional and psychological level. That way I can purge these old dynamics that are perpetuating imbalances and disharmony in my life. And it gives one an opportunity to make a different choice, one that is rooted in one's sovereignty, one's authenticity, one's unique individuality, one's self-love, one's dignity, one's self-respect. And this has the propensity to become medicine for other people later on. You're not alone. This can also be where we're experiencing a bit of self-judgment, shame, or guilt if we're being confronted with something. But Saturn and Pisces and Neptune approaching that North Node is truly about self-forgiveness in order to strip bare the old conditioning factors of where maybe we didn't have Leonian self-love or dignity or respect, and the need to cultivate that by truly confronting the reality, the truth of the reality of where we're at. And this can be with work, family, one-on-one relationship with any person, a friend. Something could be confronting us truly, not to place blame, but to be like, how did I end up here? And what do I need to change? So I just wanted to speak about this because this is a really powerful day. And it's something that ultimately with Venus and Aquarius ruling that South Node and ruling Uranus, it can be catalytic to transformation, to where now, if we're choosing self-love and dignity and respect, making a different choice, cultivating a new pattern in our life by the choice that we make through a correct judgment, we then get to change what we attract and who we attract. And so this is a very, very important time to truly tap into one's authenticity and intuition and discernment in order to purge the past of where we've over-identified with some type of relational dynamic. And truly, this can transform and heal us from the inside out to where we have healthier self-esteem, okay, by making a correct choice, by discerning a correct choice through whatever goes on, whatever is a catalyst for this. So I just wanted to speak about this. I wanted to do a deeper conversation about this. If you want to know more about this in your own natal chart, come see me. I would love to go over this, especially if you're having dynamics go on in your life. And remember, Ceres is in a new phase to Pluto now. So there is something that we're recovering here. Even if we're experiencing a loss, we're getting to recover something as well. And so it's using whatever it is that's being a catalyst to be just that, to metamorphose and to transform the past. So I will be back with another video for the full moon in Gemini, and just keeping this in mind, that full moon is going to be speaking to an opposition, the need to oppose prior emotional dynamics and to make choices. And so we can see that this Venus-Mars opposition on the heels of this is very, very important and can be a catalyst for one to truly utilize that full moon in Gemini, to say what it is that one needs to say, to express. It gives these opportunities, and it gives a new awareness as to what just this means. So until next time, I hope you guys consciously work with this. I always love whenever you guys interact with me on this channel. And so, yeah, I hope this helps you consciously utilize and work with this energy, and I will see you soon.